This is a hard one. I mean, you guys, right? I mean, you not. I mean, it's so synced up. You not, but like, we know when we're on the right track with you guys. But it's like, right? I mean, well, my question about well, no, but it makes it. My question about the people making all the money off the conspiracy theories about JFK's assassination. The question is like, if do they live in economic reality and look into like I said, but there's something else that's another assassination that comes that I've only read one thing. I've only actually read one thing that was a like more. Now I guess I mean people who talk about Lincoln's assassination do say that, but it's they sort of they're very vague, but they don't locate that as coming from England. They just talk about banks, like, but they don't specifically say England. As being the force behind the assassination of Lincoln. But they don't talk. And then I was asking, which is logical, because this is all in the context of like Britain always being the our economic enemy who doesn't, not wanting us to industrialize, wanting us to keep slavery, wanting us not to have economic sovereignty, all the things going on now and at all times, like coming from an interest Britain has in not allowing us economic sovereignty. Part of the reason everything, and they're but when we talk about what I said is if you ask the JFK like assassination conspiracy theory communities making all that money off conspiracy theory, like if you ask them like have they considered the OSS like or that it was something that was cooked up in London, like they know what you would they say yes, we have many theories that involve Great Britain, or would they be like no, I don't know what you're talking about, like because I'm saying the same the at least people who are like theorists about the assassination of Lincoln do at least cite bankers, but they don't specifically say Great Britain, which of course didn't want us to industrialize, wanted us to keep slavery for the same reason, but also Lincoln was bringing in the greenback, a debt-free currency. There's conspiracy people there. Once again, there are conspiracy theory people who like point to the fact that we have a privately owned central bank, but that's not enough when right. I mean that's not the way to look at that either. What's this? This is so hard to play in your thing, but we're doing our best. Whoa. Right. Right. I mean, in both cases, you wanted to look into the assassination, what behind the assassination of Lincoln, or a legitimate theory about what was behind the assassination of Kennedy. You'd look at the economic situation and you look at this issue of currency. Is the point that loss of economic sovereignty because of what's happened with our currency, and at this time, that would be where to look. Would be Britain and this network of banks in places like Britain and Scotland and everything. That would be the source, because they're always the economic enemy of the country. And now we have no economic sovereignty, but that certainly is in the interest of British banks and Royal Bank of Scotland and that network, that network of banks. But I was wondering if when you ask, if you ask the JFK conspiracy theory person making all the money off books, like what do they think? Logically, right? One of their first thoughts would be, a conspiracy cooked up in London or that involved the OSS, right? Wouldn't that? And is that not part of it? The same is true for people who think like that I would say but this we know, like if you ask people about the assassination of Lincoln, they focus on the fact that it was something to do with having a private entity that's a central bank, and that's the bankers in America But that's not really accurate because there can be, the government does have the sovereign right to print currency, and there can be a parallel currency along with that. There can also be a national bank. I mean, the existence of like the Federal Reserve doesn't preclude that. What precludes it is this network of banks that are the main ones are based in London. Okay, that's what actually stops that. So right, I mean they don't look into conspiracy theorists about Lincoln don't look into that as the England as the sort of source for such a thing, even though they wanted us to stay a slave plantation and everything. But right, I'd love to know if the conspiracy theory people about JFK look into like the OSS being behind that, because that would make sense. And that's who knows. That's exactly who knows. Like, banking and political interests in England certainly know that if Kennedy was going to pull us out of Vietnam, they would certainly know that if they could find a way so we'd escalate the conflict in Vietnam, that what would ultimately happen is the cost of it would cause us to have to basically go off the economic part of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which is a regulation on currency and capital controls. We'd have to remove those to pay for the war, which is what happened. And they would know that. They'd think ahead to chains of events and what would cause what. So yeah, that was my question. If you ask are the conspiracy theory people about in the making money off that with regard to JFK's assassination, are they as like in the dark as people who come up with the theories about Lincoln's? They probably are. I don't know. They probably are.